Hey everyone, and welcome back. You are probably thinking, Daniel, what are we going to do next? And that is a very good question because we did a really great job of actually connecting this original prototype, but I've gone ahead and created something a little bit more complex, and you have the resource file for this, so you can take a look at what I did. We won't be going through all the different steps because we've done it before, but I'm going to actually explain what I did here and how I got to this final point. The only thing that really changes between these screens in comparison to these screens is that these images, if you notice, are a bit different than what we have here. What we do have here is manipulated images. And if you look at my image, you can see that I've added all these different layers to make it darker and then come into much more focus and be much more saturated. And the way I did that was by just adding a layer on top, and you can do that any which way you like. So this one has a radial gradient. So I just put another radial gradient, and then you can swap the fills like that. And then you can create your own type of gradient any which way you like. So you can totally do this yourself, up to you. But that's kind of how I started adding gradients to this. I also decided to manipulate the image in a way where it is moving and it is a little bit blurred. And you can do that with a plugin. So let's just go back a bit. So if I go into my plugins, and I go into image editor, this is another plugin that I really like. If you go into Jellyfish, you can start manipulating, like if you wanted to have a blur. This is kind of what I did. I went in and blurred it a bit. So you can do a lens blur. I'll show you what that looks like. Let me just grab one of the images from here. So that was the actual image I have in there. Right click, plugins. Let's go to image editor. So you can see it there. And if I want to do like a lens blur, so you can start to see what that looks like. And if I apply it, it blurs the image. Now, the reason you may be asking, why did I do that, is because I am really interested in ensuring that when these images are moving, they're kind of moving into focus, and I'll explain what I did. I did the same thing for the other ones. You'll notice they're slightly blurry, and then they become much more brighter. Same thing here, really blurry. If you go into the lizard, you'll see it even has a radial background to darken it. And then it comes right into focus and it's really saturated. Look at the yellows and the greens in comparison to this image. Totally popping. So let's look at the prototype. So the way I have this set up is very similar to what you saw before. You know, I have the delay going 4,000 milliseconds, and then this next one, same thing. So we have that moving as well to 4,000 milliseconds. And we have this jellyfish that's going to be sliding up to the surface, and then it's going to swap in. So I want to show you what that actually looks like. So let's start from the beginning. So this is the one that we built last time. Nothing wrong with it, to be honest. But if I were to think about somebody like National Geographic, they have a lot more money. They have a lot more time to put more polish on this. And not only that, we want to give the illusion that this is kind of like a video or like a three-dimensional photo. We want people to have that kind of weird parallax look in the background that we don't really see so often. So this is kind of how it starts to come together. So we have that kind of growing in front of you and getting much closer. And then we'll move on to the next one. So even this, I have it rotating a bit and coming into focus at the same time. And then on the end, it's kind of slowing down. Same thing with this one. This one's kind of rotating a bit. and then it really pops when you get to the end. So that is exactly kind of how I went about building something like this. What you want to do is you want to ensure that your image is a little bit blurry, coming into focus, and then really popping at the end while it's much more larger. You'll notice that this is scaled a little bit more. This one here is scaled a little bit more than this one. Same thing with this. What I've done is I've blurred it, brought it into focus, and then as I'm rotating it, you'll see the image is rotated in the background a bit. It's definitely much more popping when it comes to the colors. Same thing here as well. We have the spin happening on the lizard. Right now the lizard actually is set perfectly straight. Then it starts to kind of spin a little bit more and more. And then you kind of tailor off to the way I finished and loop this one. And that's how you can really take this and make it pop like this. I feel like that really speaks volumes when it comes to the brand of National Geographic and just the amount of polish on this type of interaction. We want people to get excited about these things. And really the only way to do that is to kind of make your designs come to life. And this does a good job of that. So I would love to see what everyone else has come up with. I would love to see if you kind of took this in a new direction, maybe tried new types of wildlife. It would be really cool to see if you kind of could pull off that lens blur that I showed you with that plugin. But also, I'm really interested to see what everyone has come up with, because this is a pretty easy way to create a nice parallax and a nice progress interaction.